Test, test. Test. Just camera angle. Yeah. Test. Hello, YouTubers. It's the 7th of June. 7th of June. The 7th of June. No, not June. The 7th of July. Year 2026. Both at Australian Eastern Standard Time / Sydney time, as well as local Peking time. So I had to I have to pay two USD for for paid VPN, so that I can go live on YouTube with my PC. Somehow that free VPN um, won't allow me to go live, but according to the pin tests, it returned just about 200, just a bit over 200 millisec seconds. So I when I when I run the ping test using my Windows 7 laptop PC, and it returned a not so um not a high latency, just a bit over 200 milliseconds. But still, it's the full VPN just somehow won't allow me to go live. So unfortunately, I in fact I planned to just use that money to buy my adopted old man / one of my uncles some snacks, some sweets. But unfortunately, that plan fell apart. So I'm still pretty much a penniless man, unfortunately. But I did grab some food, some proper food, finally, with some of my yen, with some of my Japanese yen, and and my adopted old man helped me to exchange that for some Chinese RMB, so I could buy some proper food myself. Yeah, but that will just last me. I guess no more than 2 weeks. So I'll have to use it extremely frugally and sparingly. Unfortunately, that's why that that's why I formally and humbly um, ask for you for your guys' help with my great um not exactly great tribulation, but great 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 um, great great beg your pardon. Famine, famine, great famine, 2.0, but still, that's not the the main point of focus for this live stream. So you might ask, why I titled this live stream "Ready to Sign My Own" DNR. Yes, well, for those who don't know what DNR stands for, it means do not resuscitate. That says, I stand ready to sign that DNR, that form, that paperwork, that medical paperwork, in case I suddenly say lose my consciousness and all life signs, say I stop breathing and my heart stops stops its 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 it's it's it speeds in case I lose all life signs. And I agree. I agree to just die without any medical intervention. That's essentially what it means. To stand ready to sign a DNR form. For do not resuscitate. Yeah. Since I yes though yes you may interpret that as something highly negative, highly say black, but on the contrary, that means I treat each and every day of my life from now on as if I've only got that day, that one day to live, as if I've only got one day remaining on this wretched planet Earth. So that's so in that sense, that's not as negative as it might you know initially imply or suggest at first. So I guess that might also apply to you guys. Even you don't, even you may not have realized that, but but we might all of us might just die at any minute, any second, on any day. You never know. Though I don't wish, though I wish nothing for everyone, including myself, including the worst enemies. you know Nevertheless, tragedies do not, they don't, they can occur to anyone. They do not discriminate. Tragedies do not discriminate. So yeah, let that sink in. And that's precisely why I titled the video "Ready to Sign My Own DNR Form." It's pretty hot here. It's pretty hot there. It's like yeah, I guess it's around 30, 37, maybe 36 degrees Celsius in my current region. I beg your pardon. Just it takes a while to load Google Maps. Just give me a sec. Damn, why it's taking a freaking while to just load. Yeah, it's currently around. Damn, my internet status too. Shit. Just give me a sec. I need to check. 23 degrees Celsius around around my region, around my current region. It takes a freaking 10 seconds for me to load, for my computer to just load Google Maps. Even on a paid VPN plan. I hope you guys are not experiencing any noticeable lags or say status in terms of this in terms of the video, the live stream. Yes, you can check. You can check the weather. You can check the the temperatures on Google Maps. In case you don't know, yeah, yes, you can. Though I guess about 2 months ago, Google somehow I won't say discontinued that functionality, but they somehow paused that. They somehow paused that for about 2 months. Earlier this year, and then maybe in around, yes, in around May, late May or early June, then Google restored that feature. And I doubt they released any prior notifications or announcements or messages for their for the Google users. So that's kind of I don't like what they did with their systems. I just don't it just it's just isn't a cup of my tea to just say make a major change to something that has a widespread and long lasting impact on their on their customers without a prior notice. So it's just unethical and something some something isn't to say the least. So I don't like what Google has been doing over the years. And I'm sure most, if not all of you guys agree with what I just said, with what I just um, commented about Google, about how they run things and how they make such an abrupt change to their system without in advance notifying their customers, regardless of whether such change affects paid customers or unpaid customers, like most of you guys and I. Chinese use Baidu equivalent to Google Maps. Most of them, yeah, but I rarely use Baidu's myself, unless I have to navigate my way um, within mainland China. Then I search for some locations using Baidu Maps. But I use Google Maps a lot more frequently. Yeah. Saw so many Chinese people on YouTube recently vlogging their lives, and may remain and many remain unmarried. Well, I'm not someone recent. I've been on YouTube for more than a decade. I've been a YouTuber for like 14 years. 14 years. And but I did not start proactively uploading and creating on YouTube until say mid to late year 2016. But nevertheless, that makes my say my overall my cumulative um, years spent on YouTube as a YouTuber, as a creator, still for nearly 10 years at least. If start counting, from the year I become proactively active on YouTube, then yeah. But I'm not someone new on YouTube. No, but there are plenty. There are plenty of, yes. Some of them, yes. Some of them, yes, do present you with a fairly authentic overview of of what say living a life in China is like. Yes. Um, but I just don't they just don't float make my boat float, if you catch my drift. I don't say I barely find new videos, new uploads on YouTube that interesting anymore. Pretty much now daily nothing on YouTube keeps me in, entertained or makes me watch. you know yeah, but it's just how should I put it? Let's just say, more often than not, I find I find even my own video a lot more interesting to watch than the vast majority of those new uploads, newer videos, you know, filmed by new YouTubers, who emerged, say, in the recent, in the most recent several years, say specifically, yes, post COVID, yeah, post COVID. I don't know if that accurately, summarizes, my main point. But yes, it's most new uploads are just freaking boring, freaking yawn, and but but don't fall for the you don't fall for the stereotypes. Say there are certain certain sayings, certain preconceptions or misconceptions about Asians, about Chinese folks, about East Asians, in general. Say one of one of my one of my haters, one of my trolls, keep saying that, well, Chinese and um also also Koreans, Singaporeans, and blah 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 are materialistic. Well, yes, I'd say the pretty much nowadays everyone is a freaking materialistic bastard, including myself. Everyone nowadays is materialistic, but maybe not as not in the way you believe they are. I don't buy, say, even when I had the money, I didn't buy those say I didn't spend a dime on those fan, fancy schmancy bags, um, say um, say Gucci bags, or say blah blah, or a Lamborghini or a Bugatti. I didn't spend half a dime, a cent on stuffs, even when I had the money. No. Um, but yes, I guess I guess it makes a fairly valid it nevertheless makes a fairly valid argument, say, by saying a lot of Chinese women post 90s are materialistic, yes, but so are the Japanese, so are American women, so are Western women, most of them, at least in general. So yes, you can say. I guess you can say yes. Most or alternatively, you can say yes. A lot of Chinese women, a lot of Korean women, a lot of um, 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 a lot of East Asian women are materialistic. Indeed, they are. Well, considering most people are NPCs, and therefore you can reach a fairly objective conclusion that most women are NPCs too. So I beg your pardon. Just consider the mathematical, the yes the yes the uh, I beg your pardon, the arithmetics. Yes, consider the arithmetics. You can say that yes, a lot of women are materialistic, but it's just in it makes no philosophical, no scientific science. Um, it makes no philosophical nor science, um, or a scientific sense, to say all Chinese people are materialistic. No, I have met a lot of a lot of folks who are not that, or at least not as materialistic as you believe they are. Well, regardless of their ethnicities or nationalities or blah 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 blah. you know, and but still, you know, in the you know in the grand scheme of things, you know, everyone alive is materialistic. As I mentioned before in my previous videos, you know, since you exist as a human being, as a as a physical, you know, form of existence that have to to um to to depend, you know, on physical materials, on physical elements, say carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, blah blah blah. You know, you can't exist without, you know, those physical materials. So in a in in a broader sense, everyone is materialistic, unless, you know, you voluntarily, unless you voluntarily, you know, say, assuming you do have a red button to instantly exit this existence anytime you see fit, then you simply press the red button and you call it a day. You know? That's the way you stop being, you know, materialistic completely, you know. So unless you can do something, unless, you know, you can do so without hesitating, you know, then you have earned credit, you know, to, you know, say, to criticize others, you know, for, say, or accusing others for their materialism or blah blah blah. Well, unless you do that, then shut the f up. Shut your crow beak. Keep your inauspicious crow beak sealed when you have nothing nice to say. Shut up, listen, and learn. Is that clear? Is that clear? Yeah. Well, I'm not saying this, you know, to you guys, but instead, you know, to those ignorant and self righteous pricks, who never stop criticizing, who say who never who you know who always stand on the moral high ground and never stop criticizing others for this, for that, for A, for B, you know, blah blah. You know, but instead they themselves, you know, they they um they keep the pretense, the facade of knowing everything, but in truth, you know, they don't know shite from shite. They don't know shite from Nola. Yeah, I beg your pardon for getting a bit hyped. So let's read your messages. Your videos have intellectual, physical depths. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Well, thank you so much for. I'm so flattered. I'll take that as a compliment. Can't take this no more. Jarvis, put the plug on the same page. From Clark, I also enjoy. You also enjoy my philosophical insights. Yeah, thank you for being here. It's lovely and an honor to have all of you guys here. Um, it's very clear to me that American women are much more materialistic than Chinese women. The Chinese, um, academically, maybe I am, and um, count me as an exception. I didn't really say excel or attain much of academic success. At least, you know, not so at uni, but maybe a little bit back in high school, back in primary school. Maybe, I guess you are right about that. But you know, I don't I don't I don't value, you know, the say I don't value, you know, how how well you perform at your schoolwork or your academics. Say in the event that you are still studying, you are still in the event that you are still a a student at a higher at an institution of higher education. Then but still, I have say I won't tell you say, or at least on most occasions, I won't tell you what to do about your life. So in case you do enjoy, say, excelling, at your say at your schoolwork or at your say a, academic performances, then who am I to judge? But it's really say I don't value that as much as I did. Well, I do admit that I used to say I used to measure people's level of intelligence, by how well they did at their schoolwork, or say, or how much marks or how many say scores they get from their say from their quizzes, exams, and blah blah blah. But now I don't do so anymore, not anymore. It's merely say the school system is merely a concentration camp that that teaches their their subjects um, what to think instead of how to think. Well, at least most of them. I've never say um, I've never come across a school system that does otherwise that does otherwise in a significant portion or a degree. So but still I'd assuming I was say a slave master, or a noble of that sits at the the tip of the pyramid, or the social hierarchy. Then I'd say homeschool my offspring. In that case, I will never send them to 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 conventional schools or universities. No, since they won't teach you how to think, but instead they just spoon feed you with the propaganda, with the indoctrination, with the pre with the preconceptions and biases, and say the programs, the 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 scripts they want you to follow. They won't te- teach you. They only spoon feed you with the scripts and programs the slave masters want you to follow. Yeah, and that's precisely why I won't say in the event I couldn't say I couldn't in the event I couldn't keep my dick in my pants, and I yes I got I got hooked up with a woman, and had an offspring or two or even three, or I won't send my my offsprings to the conventional school system. No, not not a million years, not a billion years. No. um Women want a villain so badly. I say women want to be with the villains, the villains so badly, since they are naturally masochists. The more say the more, how should I put it? Yes, the more you the more you dominate them, the more they will submit themselves to you. Bear this in mind. Mark my words about women. Don't never show a single sign of weakness or vulnerabilities. At least not in front of your spouses or your girlfriends or long term or short term bed bed buddies or sexual partners. Just you know how should I put it? Adopt the approach of the ancient Chinese war strategist Sun Tzu. When you are weak, make yourself appear strong. When you know, and when say when needs be, when you are strong, make yourself appear weak. Yeah. Um. Beg your pardon. Just need to adjust the camera a little bit. Yeah. So let me read the messages again. Any video games you are planning to play? Yes, in fact, I downloaded Expedition 33, but unfortunately, I can't afford a better PC. So my current PC, just keeps crashing at the at the corridor. Um, you know, right before the flying waters mission in the in Expedition 33. So yeah. But yes, that's if I had to recommend say a game that's released in that's recently released, then I highly recommend Expedition 33. Since for those who don't know, say most of the characters there, you know they um they they speak they speak in highly posh British accent, and I have found that quite um quite cool, quite elegant. But maybe for those that find say British accent say the received pronunciation a bit too rigid, or a bit too a bit too say by the book or formal. You have the right to you have the right, you have every right not to play it. You have every right to to disagree, since it's since not everyone on planet Earth wants to speak or sound like a British folk. So be my guest if you don't like it. I don't mind, and I have nothing against you, even if you don't like the game, the video game Expedition 33. Yeah. Yeah, let me just scroll a bit a bit up pay up a bit more, just see if I missed any messages. What else? Good morning. Yeah, good morning to you as well. Yeah, currently it's already past midnight in my time zone, in my current time zone. So I'll try to keep my volume not so loud, lest I wake up my neighbors, and I don't want them to come and knock on my door. to kick my ass. Yeah, the system isn't don't does not just seem like a torture. It's a deliberate system of horrifying horror, terrorizing, um, terrorizing, abuse, unscrupulous rapists, torture. How is smoking viewed as a good thing though, or is it not? Youth smoking is probably a big problem in mainland. Glad you don't smoke, bro. Um, well, I guess is a person, and I don't I don't how should I put it? I don't see I don't see those that smoke someone or something um lower you know or someone um um below my level. No, if they if they need to smoke, or if they have say if they have to depend on cigarettes, on smoking, in order to make themselves feel better, if not more, say if not more 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 productive, then I don't judge those that smoke. And say a lot of men I know smoke. So and they are sorts they are sorts of earth. They have done a lot to give me a helping hand. And I'm sure they have also done a lot to help others who are who who were in deep trouble, get back on their feet. So if they have to smoke in order to get by, no, I have I have nothing whatsoever those that smoke or those that don't. Well, just as you so long as say you so long as you live and let live, then then I guess at least you are not my enemy. At least I don't consider you an adversary. So long as so long as to live and let live. Yeah, that's I guess yeah, that basically summarizes my viewpoints on on smoking. Say long story short, I don't smoke, but I don't oppose those that smoke or those that have to depend on on smoke in order to say to get by in life, in order to say be themselves and you know enjoy life. Yeah, then I have absolutely whatsoever nothing against them. Yeah, yeah. I beg on just excuse me for a second. I need to get a fresh bottle of water. A bottle of water. Just give me a sec. Excuse me for a minute. Yeah, I'm back. Beg your pardon for keep you guys waiting. Um, it's a bit less, some H2O droplets. Less some H2O droplets. Do some damage to my gears, filming gears. Yeah. So basically, yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't, I have nothing against those who share who don't share my my points of view, per, pertaining to life, pertaining to how pertaining to how one should live his or her life. So long as you stay out of my way, and or you just mind your business, you know and I beg your pardon. And even if you have you know you have a sexual or and physically intimate attraction towards other men as a man, but so long as you stay out of my way, then I won't judge you, or say or criticize you, but just so you know that getting get just so you know that physical intimacy with another dude, as a dude yourself, carries a much greater risk of of STDs, and of course a higher homicide rate, less in the event that the relationship goes sour. And that statement has been backed by scientific research and statistics. You can Google that yourself. I won't spend much time trying to say to to justify my firm stance on such matter, since it's not only a matter but a fact. It's a matter, or you can say it's a matter of fact and truths, that that those that engage in male homosexual practices will suffer a greater risk, if not also an occurrence, a greater occurrence and frequency of of STDs. Also, they also risk you know falling victim to crimes of violence, specifically homicides. In the event that say their their broke back relationships go sour, or goes south. Yes, and I know it's not a politically correct thing to say, especially on nowadays. I might get just silenced or canceled, but I don't really care, what YouTube does to my channel, so long as I get my messages across. I don't really give a flying piece of shit, a freaking rat's ass about what they think of me, and what they think of other far from weak men. Because, like I said, I stand ready to go all in. Go all in? You know, um, I stand ready to go all in to face challenges, to face the challenges and hardships in my life. Since I pretty much got nothing to lose, and knowing that I might just kick my bucket at any minute, and and on the other hand, n- um, n- on the other hand, I won't, have to worry about, say, embarrassing myself, um, you know, since I fully take into account of the fact that I have already met a lot of humiliations and embarrassments, that I have got myself already, say, I have already adapted to getting myself embarrassed. Beg your pardon. So, you know, or you can call it, the practice of not exactly the practice of um, d- not exactly the practice of you know of trying to detach from those fear of embarrassment or rejections, but instead, the practice of the of beg your pardon. Yes, desensitization. Yeah, desensitize yourselves towards embarrassments, towards is a fear of rejection, fear of cringe. Yeah, since I've already got more more courage than a lot of the men who don't even dare to put themselves in front of a camera to speak up. So I do, um, well, so take that um, as what you will. I do take pride, in myself for having been, say, for having been a YouTuber for this long, even if that unfortunately has not yielded me much success, but still, I don't regret a single bit. I don't regret a single bit. Um, even if that brings me a lot of embarrassment. due to the fact that I, sometimes, if not a lot of times, I stutter a lot, and sometimes have to make some sort of weird sound in order to say, in order to act as if stuttering did not bother me that much. But nevertheless, I don't regret a single bit when it comes to voicing my thoughts and vocalizing and trying to articulate my ideas to the rest of the world via YouTube, via BitChute, Rumble.com, blah blah blah. I don't regret a single bit. Yeah. So what else? So yeah. What is going on, Zombie Dog? Welcome to my channel. I beg your pardon if you don't ring a bell, since um, I believe it's the first time that I see you jumping in um to my channel, but yeah, but nevertheless, yes, I welcome I welcome all viewers to my channel, so long as you know to agree to so long as you know how to agree to disagree, then you are all welcome. Oh, really? I beg your pardon, but it's still what you said still does not seem to ring a bell to me. But regardless, yeah. But regardless, in any event, welcome back to my channel. Yes, and yeah, yes, I just yes earlier during this live stream, yes, I just I talked about my thoughts about materialism, and and how much it matters, use accurate and precise language, so that you don't cause misunderstandings or misconceptions. Yeah. Yeah, but yes, I might say find some other ways, say, to reiterate my stance on on the on trying to say to to debunk those cliche stereotypes and misconceptions about, say, about Asians, particularly East Asians. Yeah, and yes. So how should I put it? Yeah. So yes, generally speaking, words carry power and ripples of influence that can chain a series of chain reactions. So always try to use pre precise words and accurate statements backed by logical and scientific evidence. Beg your pardon. So that you don't make others misunderstand you, and thus you make the communication more efficient and more effective, and in turn you can and in turn it makes your life a whole lot easier, a whole lot more hassle free, you know. And even if some, well, I wouldn't say a lot haters or trolls, but yes, there are a few, maybe two, one or two of those trolls or haters of me, once or twice, called me a loser. Well, like like I said, in my previous post, in my previous post, having someone calling you a loser may actually indicate, your level of success, particular, particularly on social media, like on YouTube. Since your presence, your channel has to garner some attention, and at least, unlike 90% of other YouTubers who rarely upload or make videos. Well, much less making videos on a fairly regular um, basis. So by having some trolls or some hate, you already it already it already proves that your presence, your channel has garnered a sufficient amount of attention, to get hate for, to get trolled, to get trolled at, for the amount of impact and controversies, you you know you sent to the whole world. Yeah. What else? You got to go to bed. It's 11 a.m. You had no sleep. Well, yes, I've also had my circadian rhythm severely compromised too. Recently, yeah, one day I go to sleep, say, fairly early at around, say, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and get up at around 7. But then, I you know um, go and take a nap at noon, since you know nowadays, I can't even afford lunch, so I just have to use sleep as an escape or cope. So, but yeah, what else? um yeah, so just so you know that a lot of a lot a whole lot of people, maybe most likely NPCs, they don't even speak properly. They just, go out there and say and ramble a bunch of d- d- mumble. Beg your pardon. A bunch of mumble jumbos. They don't even pronounce words clearly. Sometimes I don't know if it has something to do with, say, with their physical health, or their level of hormones, blah blah blah. Sometimes sometimes they either speak too quietly, or too, say, or with such a high pitched or low pitched voice that I can barely hear them. I don't know if it's has something to do with their, say, their hormonal imbalances, or blah blah blah. But it occurs to me fairly, fairly, I won't say fairly frequently, but fairly commonly, on YouTube, specifically, say, some other dudes, they just, they don't even know how to speak properly. They don't even, make clear vocalization, or a clear a pronunciation of the words they are saying. Maybe, maybe they also, say, for victim, to to not having, to not having a proper or an adequate female or motherly role model during their childhood. So in that case, then I guess it's not their fault. But still, you can still overcome such. You can still, uh, at least, to a certain extent, you can still overcome, or at least mitigate such challenge, such um, issue, by your own hard work, by your own intentional and intuitive learning and acquisition afterwards. It's, I know, it might not be entirely their fault, but it is, no excuse, not to speak properly as a growing man. Well, even if you do stutter like me, you can still manage to convey your thoughts and messages to others and make an impact. Even if you don't speak as fluently and you stutter like I do, you can still get your messages and points across. Like what I'm doing right here, right now. And I didn't. And and more importantly, I did not. I did. My old man, my old, did not. He did not. He didn't teach me how to speak like a posh Brit. I learned that myself, though. I've learned that myself over the years. Say, from video games like Dragon Age Inquisition. Say that, specifically the female British Inquisitor from BBC. From what else? Yes, from Cambridge. Um, yes, I might, I guess, sometimes, say I may still not sound adequately British, say, well, but that's kind of um, um, maybe a bit, um, you know, off the topic, but I still don't know how some British ladies, how some posh British la- um, ladies say the word day, like Sunday, Monday, Saturday, blah blah blah. The way they say day, you know, sounds like die, you know, to me. And yet, I still find a bit awkward, to say die instead of day, say Saturday. I would like to give you guys a brief walkthrough of how I spend my day, blah blah blah, that sort of thing. I don't know how the heck they can say the word day like die without feeling cringe about themselves. But I will try. I guess I'll have to say on some days consult with a you know with a with a with a qualified British professional on such matter, on such lesson. Yeah. But I guess it's gonna be another video for another day, if you don't mind. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I have much have said what I felt like saying during this live filming session. So in case you have found it useful, if not also fun, please consider giving me a like, and subscribe, and also having a look at my Patreon page and buy me a coffee page. I'm sure. I believe you will find at least something to your interest, or something to your satisfaction there. So yeah. So do give it a look. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, for watching, for making this far into this live filming session. Yeah. So yeah, if God's still willing, stay out of trouble, be honorable, and also, more importantly, stay far from weak. Until next time, cheers. If God willing, cheers, and see you around. Be honorable, stay out of trouble, and stay far from weak. Bye. Cheers. Amen.